Thanks for taking care of the child all this time.
She told me about returning from overseas after 5 years. She had left her 1-month-old baby in my care while she enjoyed herself abroad. I calmly conveyed the truth to her. Your child is no longer here. She exclaimed in surprise.
Did you take good care of her?
She snapped. But she was left speechless and pale-faced after my next words. Let me recount the whole story of how I exacted revenge on her. I first met my sister-in-law, Irene, when I was 33 years old. She came into my life when my younger brother decided to marry her.
What's up? I'm Irene.
She blurted out as soon as she opened her mouth during the marriage introduction. Her words caught me off guard and made me uneasy. Hello, Irene, I replied cautiously. Quietly, I whispered to my brother. Hey, are you sure about this? With a beaming smile, my brother responded.
She's lively and cheerful, a good person.
Hey, seriously, don't leave me out of the secret talk. It's such a downer when you whisper without me.
She interjected. Your energy is dropping.
Hee.
She was young and didn't seem very bright, so I often couldn't quite understand what she was saying. Her nails were 3-dimensional with beads like those on nails, and I wondered if she could do housework with those hands. However, listening to her, I learned she loved sweets and enjoyed making desserts as a hobby. My younger brother looked delighted as he said,
I've had a storage room built in our new house just for sweets ingredients.
Pulling her close to his shoulder. The restaurant we used for my brother and sister-in-law's marriage proposal was a slightly upscale Chinese restaurant I frequent. However, Irene remarked with a grumble.
I wish we had gone for a sweets buffet or something.
I'm sorry, Irene. If I had known you had a sweet tooth, I would have chosen a place like that. I just really like the super spicy ramen at this restaurant, I explained.
Huh? Super spicy?
She exclaimed loudly, drawing so much attention from other customers that I felt embarrassed as everyone turned to look. Irene, your voice is quite loud.
It's impossible that you like spicy food. What? Do you enjoy tormenting yourself?
Critiquing someone else's tastes and making such rude remarks. However, I decided to just laugh it off and said, Haha, I get that a lot. But you might get hooked on the super spicy once you try it. She smirked back at me when she saw me laughing. Not long after that greeting, my younger brother and sister-in-law registered their marriage. It seems they hurried because her pregnancy was discovered before the wedding. However, shortly after submitting their marriage papers and moving into their new house, tragedy struck. There was an explosion at their house, and their newly built home was engulfed in flames. A dust explosion? What happened? As my sister-in-law tearfully explained, it turns out my brother had gone down to the basement storage room to fetch ingredients for sweets at her request. However, the storage room was filled with flour dust, and without realizing it, he tried to light a cigarette, igniting the flour dust and causing an explosion. My brother was directly caught in the blast and tragically did not survive. I was left dumbfounded by the sudden loss of my brother, but I was also concerned about my sister-in-law who had lost her newly built home in a fire. Irene, what are you going to do now?
I received the insurance payout, so I think I can manage the mortgage on the house. I'm planning to move to a cheaper apartment, but I'm not sure what to do from here.
She replied. Given her pregnancy and likely difficulty finding work, I felt sorry for her. After discussing it with my parents, I decided to give her a substantial amount of money. Irene, with tears in her eyes, said,
"Thanks a lot, sis."
expressing her gratitude. When she thanked me, I reassured her, let me know if there's anything else I can do, and gently embraced her.
"But this isn't nearly enough. There's so much I need to buy for the baby, like a crib and other essentials."
Yeah, you're right. Considering you lost all your furniture. I understand. I'll contribute a bit more money. I handed over my earnings from working as a nanny to my sister-in-law. Living with my parents after marriage, I believed I could manage to live even after deducting some of my salary. More than that, I wanted to somehow support Irene, who had lost my brother, her husband. However, then something unbelievable happened. This happened about a month after my sister-in-law gave birth to her long-awaited baby. I was about to leave for my nanny's job when I heard a baby crying outside. Is a baby crying in one of the neighboring houses? It sounds surprisingly close. Opening the front door, I was shocked to find a newborn baby left on the doorstep, only about a month old. What's more, as I lifted the child, I found a note tucked underneath with Irene's round handwriting.
"I don't have the confidence to live alone with my child after losing my husband. I entrust her to you, dear sister-in-law. Goodbye."
I can't believe she felt so desperate. I quickly reported to the police and, with my parents' help, searched for her, but she was never found. I ended up taking care of my daughter, Karen, in her place. I'm sure she was under a lot of stress from taking care of the baby. If only I had realized it earlier. I blamed myself and decided to raise my niece on her behalf. However, 2 months after my sister-in-law disappeared, my husband and I visited my brother and sister-in-law at their house that had burned down, and we realized something. We had been deceived by that woman. I clenched my fists so tightly that my fingernails dug into my palms. I won't tolerate it anymore. If she comes back, I will beat her to a pulp. I decided to wait for her to come back with a vengeance. 5 years had passed since then. I was 38 years old. My sister-in-law, whom the police had been trying to track down, had not yet been found. However, on my day off from work, the doorbell rang and I answered it to find Irene, now 30 years old, standing there.
"It's been a while."
She looked somewhat tired, but she had a smile on her face.
"Thank you for taking care of my child until now. So, where is that child?"
I looked at her coldly. Your child is gone.
"What?"
She gulped in surprise, but then she began to ramble on furiously.
"What do you mean? Were you taking proper care of her? Ugh, I guess I'll have to get compensation for this."
You came to take the child back because of money, didn't you?
Huh. Could you refrain from saying such rude things?
As I watched her barking like a dog, I calmly continued the conversation. I visited the house where you and my brother lived 5 years ago. This was when I was cleaning up after the fire, looking for anything salvageable among the remains. I was always curious about that basement storage room.
Was there something strange about it?
Well, he did like smoking, but would he smoke in a place where we kept food? Especially where you stored the ingredients for your beloved sweets. Irene fell silent at my words. Then, when I tried entering the basement storage room and flipped the light switch to test it, fire came out from there.
What are you trying to say? Just say it clearly.
I suspect that you tampered with that switch to bury my brother. At this, she snorted and laughed.
Come on. I might enjoy making sweets, But I'm not skilled enough to tamper with electrical systems.
Yes, that's why I think there might be an accomplice involved. I didn't miss the momentary twitch in her face. So, I pulled out my phone from my pocket and showed her the screen. By the way, Irene, who is this person? On the smartphone screen were photos from a social media account. There were multiple posts showing her with an unfamiliar man, appearing quite intimate in the pictures. So that's why the police couldn't find you. You were overseas. Upon hearing the word police, her face turned pale.
Wait, did you report me to the police?
Oh, not about my brother's case, but I filed a missing person report for you.
I didn't do anything to him.
Are you sure? Maybe not directly, but... I manipulated the phone and showed her a saved image from the social media account. These posts are from 5 years ago, and it took quite some effort to dig them up. Can you explain this? It was an exchange of messages between my sister-in-law and a man who seemed to be her lover. They were scheming.
We've set it up. Once you press the switch, the fire will start. Just don't touch it.
We'll squeeze as much money as we can from the insurance and your husband's family. You've been checking posts from 5 years ago? That's creepy.
I wanted to uncover the truth about my brother's case even a little bit. Do you have anything to say about these messages?
I don't remember any of this. Maybe we were talking about a game in code.
That seems a bit far-fetched, don't you think? Seeing her flustered and spouting nonsense, I calmly interjected. I've already asked the police to reinvestigate the fire incident. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens to you when I present the evidence I've gathered. As she listened to me, her face turned pale, and she started trembling uncontrollably. She quickly collapsed to the floor and pleaded, "Please forgive me. Just spare me from the police. Can you tell me everything that happened?" With her nodding confession, it turned out just as I suspected. She admitted that she had a lover even before my brother's marriage, and they conspired together to get rid of my brother. While he was away, her lover tampered with the electric switch in the storage room, and she simply instructed him to fetch sweets ingredients. They managed the house fire through the insurance, took the money from us, and then left their child on our doorstep before fleeing overseas. My life in France was supposed to be enjoying delicious sweets and living happily in luxury for 5 years. However, after 5 years, her lover started cheating on her even more and ultimately abandoned her.
He's unbelievable. Seriously. He left me high and dry in France.
That's rich coming from you. Go on. In truth, her life in France was only sustainable because of her lover, who was the one fluent in French.
I was cheated on, abandoned, and fed up with being in a country where I couldn't communicate. So I came back to the US.
Didn't you think about studying French?
I hate studying.
Seeing my sister-in-law pout and hearing her words, I couldn't help but feel exasperated and speechless. As the money she received from us was running out, she resorted to using our child, Karen, to try to swindle more money from us by returning to our home. So that's what it was. But I'm glad you came back.
Are you going to forgive me?
I didn't say that. I mean that it's easier to get revenge now that you're back in the US rather than being overseas. The despairing expression on her face at that moment is unforgettable, even now.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that her disappearance was revenge against me?
That's ridiculous. She's alive and well. Right now, she's at the daycare where I work. It's probably nap time for her.
Then why did you say something so confusing?
Karen has become our official child. It means she's no longer your child. Unable to contact Irene, my husband and I discussed Karen's future and began the process of adopting her. Based on the contents of the note, we had speculated that she might no longer be alive. Well, as it turned out, she was tougher than we had thought. However, while we were in the midst of legal proceedings to formalize Karen as our child, we happened to learn about Irene's lover. Furthermore, feeling uneasy about this, we went to my brother's house and learned the truth about the incident. After hearing my sister-in-law's confession, I placed my hand on her shoulder and said, "Thank you for being honest."
Can you forgive me now? I don't want to get caught.
Huh? After deceiving us all this time, gallivanting overseas, and having a good time, there's no way I'm forgiving someone like you. I then pulled out a hidden voice recorder and smiled broadly. Thank you for telling me everything. I'll be taking this as evidence to the police.
What? You can't be serious.
As she screamed in tears, I chuckled and said, "Don't be so upset. The truly angry one is me. I'm going to avenge my brother." I then went expressionless. Sorry, but I'm not one to show mercy in situations like this. You picked the wrong person to mess with. She seemed to realize I was truly angry and began trembling uncontrollably. In this way, I handed her over to the police, and the case was resolved. Following that, my sister-in-law was charged with neglecting her daughter and pushing the responsibility onto me, as well as conspiring with her lover to execute the plan regarding my brother's accident. Her lover, who assisted in my brother's demise and fled overseas, was arrested through an international arrest warrant. To further exacerbate the situation, I demanded child support from her for my niece. She was left penniless, losing everything she had. Initially, she won't be able to leave prison for a while, and even upon release, she will undoubtedly face a living hell. Meanwhile, I have accepted my niece Karen as my child and continue to raise her with my husband. Our current wish is for this child, who bears a resemblance to my late brother, to find happiness. How did you find this story? Please consider subscribing to the channel. Well then, let's meet again in the next video.